Buenos Aires, November 2020. The streets went silent. Millions were crying. But this wasn't ordinary grief. The president declared 3 days of national mourning. Citizens waited for hours just to walk past his coffin. Some fainted. Some collapsed in the streets, beating their chests. The man who died wasn't a pope, not a king, not a general, just a footballer. Or so they thought. South of Buenos Aires, there's a place called Villa Fiorito. Leaking rooftops, dirt roads, children going to bed hungry every night. A place where survival was calculated, not the future. Diego was born here, 1960. 8 siblings, 1 room. His father wore himself down in a factory. His mother tried to feed 8 mouths. There were no toys. Hope was scarce, but there was a ball. Diego first touched a ball at age 3, and he never let go. He slept with it at night. Every morning he'd step barefoot onto the dirt streets and play for hours. His mother had to shout at mealtimes because Diego couldn't hear her. There was only the ball. At 8, he joined the local youth team. One day, a Boca Juniors scouting crew came to watch him. They saw a small, dark-haired boy in torn shoes. The scout thought to himself, "How long will this last?" Diego began warming up. He tossed the ball into the air. Right foot, left foot, knee, shoulder, back of the neck. It never touched the ground. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. The scouts looked at each other. Nobody spoke, because there was nothing left to say. At 16, his professional career began. At 17, he wore the national jersey. Barcelona bought him in 1982 for a record fee. He was 21 years old. But the real story began in 1984. Naples, Italy's poorest city, looked down upon by the North. A city that had never won anything. A place that knew what it felt like to be forgotten. When Diego arrived, the city stopped. 75,000 people filled the stadium, just to welcome him. He hadn't played a single match yet. 2 years later, he delivered Naples its first ever Serie A title. The city lost its mind. Babies were named Diego. Walls became shrines. But Diego's greatness wasn't just on the pitch. He didn't just beat his opponents with skill. He threaded his pain, every wound, every humiliation, into a rope, and with every touch of the ball, lifted an entire nation of broken people back to their feet. The kid from Villa Fiorito played the rich man's game and beat the rich men. He became the voice of the poor, the nightmare of the powerful. Every time he touched the ball, the millions in the stands weren't just watching a goal. They were watching the revenge of their own lives. That's why Naples worshipped him. That's why Argentina made him a god. That's why the world can't forget him. Mexico, the World Cup. Argentina versus England, quarterfinal. 4 years earlier, Britain had defeated Argentina in the Falklands War. Hundreds of Argentine soldiers had died. The wound ran deep. This was not just a football match. 51st minute. Diego picked up the ball, beat the English defense, stood face to face with the goalkeeper, and punched it in with his fist. Goal. Did the referee see it? He didn't. The match ended. Argentina won. A journalist asked, "How did that goal happen?" Diego smiled. A little with the head of Diego, a little with the hand of God. The world froze. 4 minutes later, a second goal, voted the greatest in football history. 60 meters. 5 players beaten. Impossible. Both the hand of God and the foot of Diego. He embraced Fidel Castro and wore it proudly. He tattooed Che Guevara on his arm. He openly attacked FIFA. He called George W. Bush human garbage on camera. The system tried to silence him. It couldn't. But every rebellion has a price. Diego's price was himself. During his years in Naples, he discovered cocaine, first socially, then habitually, then it owned him. In 1991, FIFA tested him. Positive, 15-month ban. At the 1994 World Cup, one final flame. After scoring against Greece, he screamed at the camera, fist raised, eyes burning, as if telling the world, "I'm still here." 2 days later, another positive test. Expelled from the tournament. That image, the moment the light went out in Diego's eyes, was burned into Argentina's memory forever. The years that followed were chaos. Wait, a heart attack, rehabilitation, in, out, back again, treatment in Cuba. Castro assigned him a personal doctor. Diego called Castro my second father, and then in November 2020 in a house in Buenos Aires, he stopped, 60 years old, heart failure. So why is he still a god? Because Diego didn't just play football. He came from poverty and never forgot the poor. He entered the system and refused to bow to it. He became the greatest and challenged those who believed greatness belonged to them. Were there mistakes? Countless. But his flaws made him more human. And people love flawed heroes because in them they see themselves. Diego Maradona was not perfect, but he was real. And in this world, being real is the greatest rebellion of all. Diego, 1960 to 2020. He was not God, but there was no one quite like him.